Welcome everyone to the ant base. Well, we've got four kinds of ants here. We've got the Formica japonica. They are in diapose, hibernating right there, barely any movement. You can see a little bit of the queen, a little spazzy, but let them hibernate. They got a treat last time. I think it's a sushi tail for a shrimp. Carpenter ants right there. They're also, I think, asleep big time. I think a few were actually camping closer to the water. Beautiful. Ants, and then we have these ones, the Teramorium tsushimae and Aphaenogaster famelica. I have just given them a juicy worm. They've run away probably because they're so light. These two don't seem to go into diapause over the winter, so yeah. There's some activity. I already saw an ant eating here, and I think that's a clear vinyl tubing, so the view isn't the best. That's a piece of the mealworm. The whole system is printed on a 3D printer, and it connects directly, very nicely, into a test tube. The test tube is made, has an insert where there's a gravel at the back here holding moisture, and you know, the moist loving ants are going to go to hello, welcome. The ants will the ants that like moisture a lot, you know, they're gonna stick where there is the most of this moisture, and you have a few more levels where the moisture gradient decreases. And of course, you know, here they have access to food and other things. The good thing about this setup is, what is that? This is sort of like a place to keep ants. You see, I have different kinds of setups here. This is for the carpenter ants. Nest is right here. These ones actually don't prefer any moisture. They nest here in Japan in dry bamboo. This is like the out world where, you know, ant goes out to get to the outside to get food. As you see, they are hibernating for the winter, so nothing is happening. And here's a test tube, just so they get some of the moisture that they need, because they cannot live without moisture at all. There's no activity right now because they are sleeping for the winter. This setup is a little bit more futuristic. It's more like a condominium with tubing. As you see at the top here, there are test tubes loaded with water, and this tube is connected down to the nest, where the ants can walk up here and access this water. I guess you have guessed that this is a water-loving kind of ant. It's Formica japonica. Very twitchy ants. Any formicas are, you know, you sneeze and they go into panic mode. You gotta be careful because if they get too excited from something, they might spray the formic acid at themselves and suffer. There's another tubing that goes out here. There's a gate here that I can close, and this one actually connects back through here to the outworld. And this is where they, you know, obtain their food. It's easy to clean, and as you see, there's a little sushi shrimp left in there. But since they're in the diapause, which is the hibernation for the winter, there's no activity for gathering of food. The fuzzy stuff at the top here, as you know, you gotta prove safety proof your setup, so you don't end up with your ants escaping into your house. This is a talc. Talc, when you mix it with alcohol, you can paint it all over around, and ants have pretty difficult time walking over this. They cannot get a grip over the talc. Of course, the alcohol dries and the talc sticks to itself and to the this is plexiglass in this case. Yeah, they don't escape, hopefully. The smaller the ant, the more they are masters at escaping. So keep that in mind. I wanted to show you two species here, the Teramorium tsushimae and Aphaenogaster famelica. They are also ants found in Japan, and oh, we've got one here. Look at that. She's going for the juicy mealworm. And I want to connect a lens. Let's see if I can do it, and I'll show you what their nest looks like. Okay, let me see this. It's very hard to see through the vinyl tubing, but the setup has beautiful test tubes. So we're going into the test tube here. You can see that's where the queens are. These particular species, they have multiple queens, and you can see the brood there. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So they're still feeding their larvae for the winter. They're kind of trying to escape because I'm shining the light on them. Look at that! Look at that! She's carrying the whole larvae. These species prefer moisture, so they like to keep, deep in the ground. And of course, they want to feed the larvae protein, so I've given them a mealworm, good source of protein. As you go down here, in this area, it's so moist, they don't like to hang out there. So they choose their best optimal location. The cool thing is that they have very cute heads. Oh, that's a bunch of eggs there. Look at that. They haven't maybe even turned into larvae yet. So they're also very small ants, and I think they have escaped at least 6 times since I got them, but I have been able to put them back and prove my setup a little bit better. Here we have some guards. They don't like when you attack their nest. They get into the overdrive mode. And next, Aphaenogaster famelica. These ants are really cool to see. Let's go into their test tube now. And right, very elegant, very long legs, and they move very fluidly. It's almost like pleasure to look at them. Oh, she's carrying a larvae. I'm confusing them with the light. This is the queen here. You can see a little bit of nice shiny hairs on the abdomen. There are some scars from the wings as queens mate in the air. They have to fly, and once mated, the wings fall off, and then the queen has to find a home somewhere in the ground or in some good environment. And as you see, they have brood as well. Many larvae are hanging around. Beautiful long shape. They don't run quickly like the Formica japonica. They are chill ants. Very nice to keep. Wow, look at that. You can actually see that there are so many eggs laid by the queen, and they're slowly developing into larvae. So if I give them a lot of protein and spring comes, there will be a lot of ants. Here we have a bigger larvae. This one will be turning into an ant, maybe in a couple of weeks. The temperatures are low, and when they're low, all the development is also slowed down. You can see the eyes of the queen here, trying to guard her kingdom. Very remarkable. You can see their pincers. They love eating meat. You can nicely slice through any dead matter. And there's a piece of dead mealworm that they have brought out. And some other ant trying to bite something there. And I have given them actually a fresh piece right here. So that's all for the setup. Another cool thing, I got these from an ant keeper in Japan, and he actually developed this insert for the test tube. As you know, in classical ant keeping, you do this. You put you put the water in the test tube, then plug it with a cotton plug, and the water slowly diffuses through that, giving them some water to the ants. You don't want to flood them. You don't want to give them too much water. So this special insert, it has a seal right here, and it has a seal right here. So the ants cannot escape the system. And back there is a very tiny mesh where the moisture can diffuse from the reservoir on the left side. And the gravel is here to keep the moisture absorbed, and so it doesn't flood them or something. It gets absorbed here and slowly diffused into the gradients here. Sometimes you can find ants that love like the middle. They don't like the moist or the dry. They just like the middle, like these guys. See, they don't go like here much or here much. They go in the middle. These guys absolutely love moisture. So another cool thing of this is what happens if you run out of this moisture, right? In a classical setup, you have to compel your ants to move out of this test tube, and who knows, you might have 30 of them in there, which is pretty tough. And then you would have to replenish this water by completely removing the plug, and then putting new water and putting new plug, and let the ants settle there again. It kind of disturbs them. This system is you don't need to disturb the ants at all. You have a dry winters, the moisture surely evaporates quickly, but all you need is water syringe and a dull needle. There's an access port here. You can see this, where I'll show you. You just go here and put the needle in and inject as much water as required. And there's a channel here at the bottom, right inside this insert, that lets the water in here at the back, to the back. It doesn't put the water, in here to disturb them. So you can add sufficient amount of water. This is a brilliant system, and the Japanese guy has a store. I think it's called Alice Underground, which is a play on words in Japanese called the Ants Underground, but you have to learn Japanese for it. We've got some activity here. The ants, I think, came to eat that juicy mealworm. It's always almost remarkable how fast they can sniff the new food. They're checking it out now. There's lots of juice in there and protein. That's what they need for the brood. Well, that's it for my ants for winter. If you wish, follow me, and you can learn some cool things about Japan or ants here in Japan. Anyway, thanks for coming, and take care.